Just doing a quick video demo of some Norton waterstones, just the 1K and the 8K, and this is a diamond grit lapidary plate. I think I've got a 60 mesh on the one side that proved to be too aggressive for most stones, but the 170 mesh works very well. The Norton's being a softer stone, it pays to flatten them fairly often. A lot of times what I will do is put them away dirty and then just give them a couple passes with this, and then wherever the high spots are, that's where I'll work, and just ignore the low spots. A lot of times you can't get away with that. On a lot of sharpening jobs, these will tend to wear fairly quickly, or give the appearance of wearing quickly. You can reduce that dramatically by just keeping them wet. A big part of what makes these Norton stones wear prematurely is the released grit and not the actual action of whatever you're sharpening with. And one of the things I really like about these is they work great on a lot of the budget stainless and even some of the better one. This is a deck steel. I use this for a fair number of demos. And probably one of the nicest things about these Nortons being a softer stone they have great feedback. They're pretty much impervious to loading of any kind. With that comes the possibility that they will dish more rapidly, but again, if you keep them lubricated, that's not really ever a concern. And the other thing you can do is emphasize the trailing part of your pass. And you can see that the swarf absolutely does not stick to the stone whatsoever, and that's true no matter how hard you press. A lot of water stones, especially the harder ones, will load if you really lean on them. So for convenience sake, these are tough to beat, and if you can work your way around the stone a lot, you can again reduce the need to have to flatten them excessively. And see where it's dried out now in that mud. That's the major culprit here. Took me a while to figure that out. I think some people that get these never really understand that. One of the nice things about this is that they also produce a very small burr for how much pressure you apply, how many passes, even on steels that normally tend to burr quite a bit, and they remove a burr at a higher angle like that extremely well. Right now I'm just feeling for the bevel. Because it's a softer stone, you can use a trailing pass on it as long as you're going light, and it won't fold the edge, and it won't make a new burr. What you'll end up with is a very sticky edge. Unlike a lot of 1000 grit stones, though, this edge finish is much more like a 6 or a 400 or whatever, but it makes a very nice drawing edge, but that's not really what this demo is all about. If you're going to use the Norton stones, either the 1 or the 4K as a standalone type of edge for a utility finish, you have to finish with a trailing pass or your edge will be not so good quality. This is the AK. It's still one of my favorite finishing stones. It works well on a lot of stuff. I haven't flattened this guy in a while, but they don't tend to dish much anyway, so. And like all the other stones in this series, they tend to be a little softer than some of the other examples you might find. And they do not load. So even though they appear to be taking on all kinds of swarf, it comes right off. So a lot of people shy away from these and the Kings to some extent, thinking that they're too soft to be good on modern steel. Now I'm putting a micro bevel on this. The first couple passes, I don't want to completely wipe away the toothy nature of the 1K edge that I've got. So I'm setting on the bevel, elevate it, maybe 2 degrees, 3 degrees. If I were working on a tool that I really wanted to completely erase all of the previous aggressive nature of the 1K stone, after about 3 or 4 passes, now I can start to use leading pass. If I use that right off the bat, it tends to catch on the stone and kind of gouge it a little bit. It's a hard stone, yeah, not compared to some other finishing stones. Compared to most water stones, it's comparable. And the more I do this, the more I'm going to erase that aggressive character. I'm going very light now because I really don't want to eliminate all of that. This is a chef's knife. We use it for dicing and whatnot, but I still want it to have a lot of aggression. So as an example, if I were doing a woodworking set, either a plain iron or a chisel or whatever, this would be the final stone. I would use the 4K as an intermediate because jumping from the 1K to the 8K, I'm going to have to make a very broad micro bevel to eliminate all the highs and lows, and that's just not efficient. In the 4K, I'm not going to demo that, but it's fast, just like the 1K. It suffers from the same drawback that if you don't keep flushing it as it dries out and as the mud begins to build on the surface, it will wear that stone very rapidly. If you keep rinsing it, they're surprisingly durable, but that is their Achilles tendon. The grit that they release on their own is the biggest detriment to using them. So anyway, for a gummy stone or gummy stainless, fairly gummy stainless, relatively low Rockwell, just a 1K, 8K combo. It's now cross-cutting newsprint. This probably tree-topping coarser leg or arm hairs or whatever. It's not going to be quite hair whittling, but this is a really good kitchen edge, and it does it extremely reliably. Whereas a really hard water stone on these softer stainless tend to fold the edge, tend to produce burrs that are a little more difficult to get rid of. The Nortons just very rapidly deal with this kind of steel without any issues, and they work well on regular carbon. When you get into the really high carbide content stainless, that's where they start to have a little bit of trouble. If you have a ton of work to do, again, you have to keep up on the lapping, you have to keep wetting them down. So there are some drawbacks to using them, but they're very user-friendly. They're still a very good stone, good choice, even in today's world of super stones and all that stuff. Anyway, thanks for watching.